February 1st, 2026. A date that may soon be remembered as a turning point in modern history. The Middle East stands on the edge of a conflict that could ignite the entire region and send shockwaves across the globe. Tensions are running higher than ever, and the world is watching with bated breath as events unfold. The United States and Israel are preparing for a possible military clash with Iran, a crisis decades in the making, now at a breaking point. Troops are on high alert, and military hardware is being moved into position, signaling that the threat of war is no longer just a distant possibility. At the heart of this standoff lies the Strait of Hormuz, a narrow waterway through which a significant portion of the world's oil supply flows. Control over this vital route has become a flashpoint, making the stakes even higher. Any disruption here could trigger a global energy crisis, sending oil prices soaring and rattling economies far beyond the region. The world's financial markets are already reacting to the uncertainty, and ordinary people everywhere could soon feel the impact at the pump. With military forces mobilizing and world leaders trading ultimatums, the risk of catastrophic miscalculation has never been higher. Diplomatic channels are strained, and the possibility of escalation looms over every decision made in the coming days. To understand how we arrived at this dangerous crossroads, we must look back at the tangled history, the bitter rivalries, and the pivotal choices that have shaped the region for generations. Only by examining the past can we hope to make sense of the perilous moment we now face. The roots of this crisis stretch back to the 1979 Iranian Revolution, which turned a U.S. ally into a bitter enemy. Iran's support for militant groups like Hezbollah and Hamas and its nuclear ambitions have fueled decades of proxy wars and deepened mistrust with both the U.S. and Israel. The collapse of the 2015 nuclear deal and subsequent U.S. airstrikes on Iranian facilities in 2025 triggered a brutal 12-day war, leaving scars on all sides. Iran's nuclear program remains the flashpoint, with both sides battered but undeterred. Now the fear of a second, even more destructive conflict looms over the region. The new year brought a dangerous escalation. The U.S. deployed a powerful carrier group to the Arabian Sea, signaling readiness for conflict. Iran responded with threats of massive retaliation, including direct strikes on Tel Aviv, and began live-fire exercises in the Strait of Hormuz. Behind the scenes, U.S. and Israeli officials are coordinating potential strikes, while Iran insists it won't negotiate under threat. President Trump alternates between threats and calls for talks, keeping tensions high. Mediators from Egypt and Qatar scramble for a diplomatic solution, but momentum toward war is strong. The world watches, hoping for de-escalation, but bracing for the worst. The next move could determine the fate of millions. At the heart of the standoff are three irreconcilable demands, each rooted in years of distrust, history, and national security fears. The stakes are not just regional, but global, as the world watches to see which side will make the next move. The United States is determined to prevent Iran from ever acquiring nuclear weapons. Washington demands that Tehran abandon its nuclear ambitions entirely, halt all missile development, and submit to rigorous international inspections. The U.S. also insists that Iran end its support for armed groups across the Middle East, groups that Washington sees as destabilizing the region. For Tehran, these demands are seen as nothing short of a call for surrender and a threat to its sovereignty. Israel, meanwhile, is pushing for a much more aggressive approach. Its leaders advocate for a decisive military strike against Iran's nuclear facilities, and some even call for regime change in Tehran. For Israel, this moment is seen as a rare and critical opportunity to eliminate what it views as an existential threat, one that could alter the balance of power in the region forever. Iran, on the other hand, insists on its right to a peaceful civilian nuclear program, arguing that it is entitled to develop nuclear energy like any other nation. Tehran refuses to give up its missile arsenal, which it sees as vital for its defense and as a deterrent against foreign intervention. Iran also demands an immediate end to crippling U.S. sanctions, which have devastated its economy and caused widespread hardship for ordinary Iranians. Each side is convinced that the stakes are simply too high to back down, and that compromise could mean disaster for their security or survival. Analysts warn that while all parties may want to avoid all-out war, the situation is so tense and complex that even a small misstep could trigger a much larger conflict. The risk of miscalculation is dangerously high, with military leaders on all sides preparing for the worst-case scenario. The world now waits and wonders, will anyone blink before it's too late, or are we on the brink of a new and devastating conflict? Beneath the headlines, millions of lives hang in the balance. Every day, ordinary people in the region wake up uncertain about what the future holds, their hopes and fears shaped by forces far beyond their control. In Iran, sanctions have devastated the economy, causing shortages and unrest. War would bring even greater suffering. Families struggle to find basic necessities, and the anxiety of what might come next is ever present. The threat of conflict overshadows daily life, making even simple joys feel fragile. In Israel, the trauma of recent wars lingers, and missile defenses are stretched thin. Civilians face the terrifying prospect of renewed attacks. Children grow up with the sound of sirens, and families must always be ready to seek shelter at a moment's notice. The psychological toll is immense, leaving scars that last for generations. U.S. allies in the Gulf fear being dragged into the conflict, while thousands of American troops are at risk across the region. The possibility of escalation threatens not just soldiers, but also the millions who call these places home, as uncertainty ripples through every community. Despite the grim outlook, the only real alternative to catastrophe is a return to negotiations, without preconditions and with real compromise. Dialogue, though difficult, remains the only path to a future where families can live without fear and nations can coexist in stability. Peace will require bold leadership and a willingness to accept less than total victory. It demands empathy, vision, and the courage to break cycles of retaliation. Only then can a new chapter begin for the region. The world cannot afford to be a spectator. Global citizens, leaders, and institutions must all play a role in supporting peace and holding those in power accountable for their choices. The stakes, nothing less than the future of the Middle East, and the stability of the world itself. The choices made now will echo for generations to come.